The thunder started as a whisper. Then it grew. Metal screamed through thin air 30,000 feet above the earth. German pilots tilted their heads skyward. They saw death approaching. Not bullets or bombs. Something worse. Something that would not turn back. The P-51 Mustang carved through clouds like destiny itself. Wings gleamed silver against the morning sun. Its engines sang with mechanical fury. This was no ordinary machine. This was vengeance given form. That day, Berlin's sky would change color. Not from explosions, from the sound of a heart they called Merlin beating faster than fear itself. The Reich's capital city sat beneath gathering storm clouds. Smoke twisted upward from factory chimneys. Black ribbons of desperation rose toward heaven. Once this place had stood proud. Now it trembled beneath its own shadow. Air raid warnings split the morning silence. Not just noise, confession made audible. Every wailing note carried terror. For months, the city had gazed upward with arrogance. The enemy cannot reach us here. Our sky belongs to us alone. But shadows had begun to lengthen. Promises cracked like glass. Above the rubble, thunder rolled, not from weather, from engines carrying judgment across the continent. American bombers had been flying suicide missions for months. B-17s and B-24s dragged their massive shadows across German territory. Always alone. Always vulnerable. Heavy wings struggled against fuel limitations. Faith battled distance. The Luftwaffe watched and waited. German pilots knew patience. They understood timing, predators in familiar hunting grounds. They never chased early. They calculated. They lured. When American escort fighters turned homeward, when fuel ran low and sky grew empty, then the hunters emerged from hiding. Slaughter followed. Over Schweinfurt, the killing was methodical. Over Regensburg, blood painted the clouds. 60 bombers vanished in single day. Burning wreckage tumbled earthward like dying stars. Americans called those days Black Week. Germans called them harvest time. One Luftwaffe ace described it simply, like shooting ducks in formation. They flew straight lines, slow and predictable. Terror showed through cockpit glass. Each flying fortress carried more than explosives. 10 beating hearts shared the same fate. 10 voices whispering prayers to the same distant horizon. 10 families waiting for letters that might never come. When a B-17 exploded, the sky lost more than aluminum. Voices disappeared. Dreams shattered. Futures turned to smoke. By winter 1943, daylight bombing strategy bled to death. Too many aircraft lost. Too many empty bunks back home. Too much silence where engines once roared. Then new sound split the wind apart. Not the heavy growl of P-47 Thunderbolts. Not the twin whistle of P-38 Lightnings. Something sharper, faster, hungrier than anything heard before. The Merlin engine announced itself. P-51 Mustangs had entered the war. Built from desperation. Forged in failure's furnace. Not just another flying machine. This one was designed to last. Long, graceful wings sliced air like razors. Radiator glowed red beneath its belly. Heartbeat made visible. American bombers would never fly alone again. The Mustang did not merely protect. It accompanied. It claimed territory instead of covering it. Berlin remained unaware. Its doom had already taken flight. German commanders dismissed the new threat initially. Another short-range toy fighter. Another escort that will vanish before we climb to intercept. But this Mustang possessed different breadth. Drop tanks stretched its reach beyond the horizon itself. March 6, 1944 brought crystal clarity. 700 bombers would strike Reich's heart. 262 Mustangs would shepherd them. Message rang brutal and clear. The capital's untouchable fortress would burn in daylight hours. Luftwaffe retreat was impossible. This sky belonged to the Führer, their pride, their sacred myth. Over 400 Germany's finest pilots climbed toward frozen air. Engines roared defiance. Orders crackled through radio static. Ignore the escort fighters. Crush the bombers. End this threat. Pride weighs heavy in thin air, falls faster than gravity allows. American airmen called it the Big Show. Germans named it Judgment Day. Truth lived between both descriptions. Duel between faith and physics. Arrogance versus adaptation. Hunters who refused learning. Machines that refused dying. Sunrise painted Berlin's skyline gold. Heaven no longer recognized national borders. Territory belonged to survivors only. That frozen morning, Reich's heart beat slower, while Mustang's heart roared louder than thunder itself. Before Berlin's sky turned crimson, it was already divided. Two nations, two fighting doctrines, two definitions of aerial power. Luftwaffe treated air combat as hunting ritual. Clean strikes, efficient kills, personal glory. Religion built around predators. Every pilot was lone wolf. Every enemy became trophy. They waited for intruders to penetrate deep, too deep into German airspace, then struck like blades pulled from darkness. They called this discipline. Americans called it systematic slaughter. German fighters never chased carelessly. They calculated precisely. Waited until American escorts turned homeward. Thunderbolts and lightnings grew thirsty, short of breath, then rose in swarms from hidden airfields. Messerschmitts dove from blinding sun. Focke-Wulfs swept sideways like scythes. No dogfighting allowed. Only dissection. Never waste ammunition unnecessarily. Target the heart directly. Walk away before wreckage impacts. Primary targets were always the fortresses, those slow, stubborn leviathans of aluminum hope. Each B-17 flew straight and steady, predictable formation patterns. To Germans they appeared as lambs lined perfectly for slaughter. To crews inside, they were coffins with wings. Luftwaffe faith rested on speed plus shock. Bf-109s lean and nervous and lethal. FW-190s heavier armored and cruel. Together, they attacked like hammer-meeting knife. One cuts. One crushes completely. Their formations displayed mathematical beauty. Silver lines slicing through chaos itself. Mathematics never bleeds red. Men always do. Americans watched bombers disappear in smoke, swore to rewrite heaven's rules entirely. Across English Channel at North American Aviation, engineers labored silently. Not building another fighter aircraft, building revenge with wings. Mustang was born from humiliation, not triumph. Began as unwanted child, designed for Britain, dismissed by American generals. Someone asked question that altered history forever. What if we gave it heart that breathes at 30,000 feet? They did exactly that. Gave it the Merlin. When steel met engine, something divine occurred. Airframe began singing, propeller bit into wind. Mustang came alive completely. Never stalked from below. Ruled from above, absolutely. Could climb faster than screaming. Dive like gravity owed personal debt. Never escorted bombers defensively. Hunted hunters aggressively. Doctrine shifted completely overnight. Americans stopped playing defensive games, never waited for Germans to approach. Went searching for them instead. Orders rewritten in brutal sentence. Find Luftwaffe and kill it. No tight formations required. No restraint permitted. Pilots told to break free. Hunt alone. In pairs. In packs. Take fighting deep into German skies, beyond where enemies felt safe. Evolution that terrified Old Guard completely. War changed from honor to annihilation. Mustang pilot wrote in logbook later. We were not guardians anymore. We were predators with superior engines. Germans noticed the difference immediately. They come from everywhere now. Radio transmission crackled with fear. High-low front-back directions. They moved like silver ghosts. Contrast was absolutely brutal. Luftwaffe believed in iron control, discipline, precision, patience above all. Americans believed in controlled chaos, momentum endurance, surprise tactics. One worshipped hard experience, other worshipped rapid innovation. Innovation flew faster always. When Mustang carried twin drop tanks beneath wings, no longer cared about territorial borders. Reach became continental in scope. Patience became limitless resource. From frozen English airfields, could escort bombers across North Sea, through enemy flak fields, all way to Berlin, home again safely. Every gallon of fuel carried promise. You will not die alone. Early 1944 brought Luftwaffe confidence rotting, beneath weight of own mythology. Still hunting sitting ducks, but ducks had grown razor talons. Every Mustang appearance at altitude. Whisper ran through German radio, half warning, half disbelief. Sie sind noch hier. They are still here. Hunters had become hunted completely. No longer question of sky ownership, question of aerial survival only. Quiet moment before bombers reached Berlin. War in air had shifted already. Not through numbers, not through tactics. Something far simpler than both. Will to keep flying when pride demanded turning back. Luftwaffe still believed in perfection. Mustang believed in persistence. Persistence has longer range always. Mustang was not invented from nothing. Reborn from failure, from desperation, from dying breath of bleeding strategy. Air war had become graveyard of ideas. From that grave rose shape, sleek, lean, and vibrantly alive. Body was art sculpted in metal. Wings long and thin. Sliced wind instead of fighting. Radiator belly glowed like furnace heart. Deep within polished skin. Hidden behind rivets and steel. Beat sound that would haunt Luftwaffe forever. Rolls Royce Merlin engine. When engine ignited to life. Never purred softly. It howled with fury. Scream of mechanical precision. 12 cylinders in perfect rage. Each explosion inside was vengeance heartbeat. Each piston stroke defied gravity itself. Mustang never simply climbed upward. It ascended toward heaven. Never merely dove downward. It struck like lightning. Never just escorted formations. It hunted prey relentlessly. In cockpit sat men who understood. Machine beneath them was not tool. It was companion creature, wanting to survive as desperately. One pilot wrote later, felt alive like it knew when I was scared. Refused to let me die alone. Not poetry at all. Pure truth spoken. Fighter did more than fight battles. It learned from them. Laminar flow wing design. Science whisper turned to muscle. Reduced drag significantly. Saved precious fuel. Gave Mustang gift Germans never expected. Time itself as weapon. Time to fight longer. Time to chase farther. Time to return home. Every drop tank strapped beneath wings. Not just fuel storage. Hope made tangible. Hope that bombers would live. See daylight on return journey. Mustang stretched war's map completely. Where American fighters once turned back halfway to Berlin, now could glide above city. Watch it burn, still have breath flying home. Distance no longer enemy. Distance became primary weapon. Merlin roared at altitudes where oxygen whispered thin. Engine's twin-stage supercharger drank rarefied air, spat out raw power. 1,500 horses running through steel skeleton. At 30,000 feet height, Where Messerschmitts coughed and stalled, Mustang danced gracefully. Germans called it silent killer, said it came from nowhere. Too high, too fast. By time you saw, already seen you first. 6 Browning .50 caliber guns. Not weapons exactly, death sentences written in metal. Each trigger pull ended stories. Each burst of wing light carved fate into sky itself. Unlike chaotic German cannon sprays, Mustang fire was concentrated mathematics. Pilots tuned convergence points carefully. All 6 streams met at fatal distance. When that happened perfectly, half-second burst tore through metal flesh. Luftwaffe survivor described experience later. When Mustang fired at you, never heard bullets coming, just felt air disappear completely. What made Mustang truly terrifying? Not its raw strength, its mechanical discipline. Pilots trained thinking vertically, not horizontally like Germans. Germans loved turning battles, elegant circles where skill met skill. But Mustang rejected elegance completely. Violence shaped by pure physics, boom and zoom tactics, sacred creed of survival. Climb high and wait, dive, strike, escape, rise again for more. Never linger unnecessarily, never play fair games. In air mercy was dying, Mustang would fall like comet, guns flashing white fire, wings shuddering from recoil force, then vanish into sun, before wreckage hit ground, turned war from duel into domination, from artistry into annihilation. In cold mechanical perfection lay strange kind of poetry, written not with ink, with contrails and fire. Merlin said one American engineer, "Doesn't forgive mistakes ever, punishes hesitation immediately." When man and machine worked as one, fear and steel shared heartbeat. Something miraculous happened consistently. Bomber formations below no longer looked helpless. Sky no longer belonged to predators. Mustang had changed air war's sound forever. Not whine of defeat, growl of inevitability approaching. From that moment forward, every German pilot looking up knew what waited there. Not machine, not enemy, shadow with wings. Heart that would not stop beating. March 6, 1944, dawn arrived. Pale and cold over English coastline, airfields were already alive with purpose. Rows of fortresses trembling, under weight of their mission. Ground crews shouted over engines. Oil stained the snow. Every man understood today's meaning. Berlin, the untouchable city. Heart of Hitler's empire. Engines roared in perfect unison. One after another bombers lifted skyward, dragging morning behind them. 700 B-17s and B-24s climbed into clouds like rising storm. Around them came guardian angels, 262 P-51 Mustangs, silver skins glinting like blades, escorting bombers into unknown territory. They flew in disciplined silence. Wings, tight formation. Engines humming deep Merlin growl. Sound of absolute confidence. Over radio-comm voice crackled. "Stay tight, boys, today. We knock on devil's door." Across continent, Luftwaffe was stirring awake. Orders screamed across radio static. Abfangen intercept immediately. At airfields scattered across northern Germany, engines shrieked to violent life. 400 Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs clawed way into sky. They knew what was approaching, could not afford losing. Reich could survive bombs, could not survive humiliation. Berlin must remain sacred territory. By midday, contrails of war drew white scars across heaven. 2 forces converged over Magdeburg, one flying east, one rising west, lines of destiny about colliding, from 10 miles high. Bomber stream looked eternal. Below them, earth whispered, snow and smoke only. Then first German formation appeared, dark specks against blinding sun. Bandits 12 o'clock high. Radio came alive instantly. Voices overlapped rapidly. Tight, fast, terrified, resolute. Luftwaffe fell upon bombers like wolves. This time, herd had teeth. Mustangs dove from stratosphere edge, fell like judgment itself. Engines howling death songs, guns already spitting light, swarm of silver-cutting darkness. Captain John Godfrey's voice broke chaos. "I see them engaging. Hold fire until you see bellies." First clash was blinding white. Tracers crossed like lightning bolts. BF-109 exploded mid-roll completely. Fireball tumbling through thin air. Mustang that killed it. Pulled up hard, trailing smoke. Then vanished into sun again. Everywhere, sky broke apart violently. German formations disintegrated under sudden fury. Luftwaffe pilots, so used to striking first, found themselves hunted instead. They tried diving away. Mustangs followed relentlessly. They tried climbing higher. Mustangs outclimbed them. German ace recalled later. They came from above, below, behind. We were trapped inside storm, made of silver wings. Below, bombers held formation, unwavering despite chaos. Mustang shadows passed over repeatedly. Angels carved from steel. Luftwaffe doctrine, patience, coordination, mass attack. Crumbled in the noise. What they met was not formation, fury with wings attached. Mustangs broke into pairs, slicing through German ranks. Boom and zoom tactics, born from physics, perfected by survival. Each dive was kill. Each climb was resurrection. Tracer fire laced sky. Red and white streams. Air smelled of cordite. Oil and burning metal. Scratch 1190. Voice shouted over radio. Choked with disbelief. Minutes felt like hours. Battle rolled eastward relentlessly. Thunderstorm refusing to end. One bomber was hit, spinning, burning, falling. But another reached target, releasing load over sprawling Berlin factories. Below, sirens wailed endlessly. City once swore invincible, now burned under daylight. From above looked almost beautiful. Fire blossoming across industrial heart. Of tyranny itself. Beauty and horror same color. That particular day, Luftwaffe threw everything remaining. Every pilot, every plane, every ounce of pride. But pride doesn't turn faster. Pride doesn't reload quicker. Pride doesn't climb higher. German flight leaders screamed through radio static. Break off, break off. They are everywhere, but nowhere to run. P-51 named Duchess of Dallas, locked onto his tail. 6 Brownings roared simultaneously. FW-190 burst into flame. Pilot never had chance to eject safely. Mustang did not cheer, did not celebrate victory, simply leveled out. Engine steady, moved to next shadow. By 2 p.m. sky over Berlin. No longer contested territory. It was conquered completely. 69 bombers lost, 11 Mustangs destroyed. But Luftwaffe left behind 140 fighters, scattered across snow, 140 ghosts. Falling from heaven they, no longer ruled. Mustang pilot wrote later, "We did not just win, we ended something forever." Down below, Berlin citizens stared at wreckage drifting from clouds above, wreckage of their guardians, wreckage of their faith. Luftwaffe had fought with skill, with courage, with fury, but against inevitable. Skill dies last. That evening, when surviving, German pilots landed safely. They did not speak, simply climbed out, touched bullet holes along their fuselages, walked away in silence. One of them, trembling, whispered to ground crew, "They followed us home." Mustang had rewritten sky's hierarchy. Hunter had learned fear. Hunted had found wings. Above smoldering ruins of Berlin, Merlin engines still echoed, steady, merciless, unbroken. Sky belonged to them now. When sun set, March 6, 1944, Sky above Berlin was quiet. Smoke had drifted east, echoes had died away, contrails faded like ghosts, returning to heavens. Silence did not mean peace, meant defeat slow, unspoken, irreversible forever. On runways of Reich, twisted shapes lay scattered, Messerschmitts torn open, Focke-Wulfs blackened to ash. Men walked among them, without speaking words. Air smelled of burnt fuel, metal, and something heavier. Pride turned to dust. German mechanic picked up, piece of fuselage, still warm from battle. Murmured it was beautiful once. Then let it fall. Luftwaffe had lost 140 aircraft. Single day of fighting. Numbers were not wound. Wound was the names. These were not new boys, not trainees fresh from school. They were veterans, the aces, the hunters, who once ruled skies. They were ghosts, that haunted Allied dreams. Now they were gone. Single afternoon, Germany lost. More than machines, lost rhythm of confidence after that day. No German pilot could look at sky without seeing shadow, in the sun, silver ghost waiting, above clouds, sound of Merlin engine, became something primal, not noise, not threat, but inevitability approaching. Lieutenant Gunther Rall, one of Germany's greatest aces, later admitted truth. When I heard Mustang, did not feel anger, felt small, like war had moved, on without us. Hunter had become prey. Americans knew it too. They had broken something, could never be rebuilt. Myth of invincibility. That carried Luftwaffe since Poland, since France, since early days. Fire and triumph. It ended over Berlin. From that day forward, bombers no longer begged for mercy from sky. They owned it. Mustang changed not only battles, changed nature of fear. Every mission after Berlin carried strange calm. Pilots knew they flew, with wind at back, future at their side. Once untouchable German heartland became battlefield without sanctuary. Airfields no longer safe. Runways turned into graveyards. Americans called it fighter sweep. Germans called it long death approaching. Mustangs dove on Luftwaffe bases. Merciless precision strikes. Burning hangars completely. Strafing rows of parked aircraft. Chasing last remnants of Air Force into Earth itself. Sky had become one way. Up for Allies. Down for everyone else. With that path, to D-Day was opened. When June came, beaches of Normandy, no longer under watchful. German eyes, Luftwaffe once master. Of European sky was shadow, starved of pilots and belief. Mustang had done what bombers never could. It had stolen the air itself. From wreckage of victory came new kind of silence, heavy, complicated silence. For every German fighter fell. Mustang sometimes fell too. For every man survived. Another vanished into clouds. American pilot, writing home, after Berlin said, "We did not celebrate, just stared at empty chairs. Mustang may have saved bombers, but also buried friends. Was not mercy." That filled air that day, sacrifice made mechanical. When history remembers sound, low, unending growl of Merlin engine, does not hear death, hears determination pure. Mustang became more than weapon, became message written, in metal and motion, endure its beauty, was not speed or kills, but what it represented, persistence, evolution, defiance. When war ended, those who survived looked back, realized, somewhere between Schweinfurt and Berlin, age of Luftwaffe died, age of Mustang began. For Germany, that battle. Was heartbreak never healed? For America, moment. They learned technology could have soul. Mustang would go on, flying through Korea, circling peacetime air shows, resting in museums under spotlights bright, but never truly, stopped flying completely. Its echo remained. In every generation of jets that followed, whisper of moment, mankind learned dominating sky, not by numbers, but by will. On March Day, 1944, something greater than battle was decided forever. Sky itself chose sides. As Berlin burned below, world finally understood. War no longer about territory only, about endurance. German officers standing amid ruins said best. We did not lose. To men, exactly. We lost to time. That night when last, survivors of raid crossed back over channel. Ground crews counted, returning planes in silence. One by one, Mustangs came home, scarred, smoking, victorious. Their wings shimmered faintly under hangar lights, as if still alive. Men who stepped down did not speak, did not need to. Sky above Berlin had already told story written in flame, sealed in silence, carried on back, of single sound, heartbeat of Merlin. As history turned page, one truth remained. Those who flew that day had not just changed battle, they had changed air itself forever.